It's spinning, and we're live. Hey, welcome again. I'm Pat, joined by Bob. We are Cardboard Odysseys, and this is Cardboard Conversations. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for being here.
And I just want to start right out the gate. A big thank you to our channel members, Richie Dubs, Solar God, Cosmic Seeds, and Four Keeps Gaming. You guys are awesome for helping support us here on YouTube. So anybody else, feel free. You get custom emojis and all that kind of stuff. And we're actually going to be doing some videos that premiere to channel members first coming up soon. So probably do one of those every other week.
and it really is encouraging for me personally. I can't speak for the other two folks on the show here. I don't know if we're considering Nate part of the show and many others that join us. For my part, when I see channel members, it encourages me. It encourages me to keep coming on here week after week. Like it really does. Like that's a big boost that there are people out there at least that definitely are saying that they want to hear what we have to say, and that's what that says to me most. And I don't think I'm going to retire on it, but that doesn't
Yeah.
make me diminish it in any way. Any money at all that somebody puts at it that's exactly what it says to me. Is that whether it's $1, $5, $10,
It's
$50,
going to help cover postage for some of the giveaways we're doing here not too long. We hit 1,000 subs, and we didn't really do a big celebration, thank you or giveaway, and we're definitely going to make that right. So make sure that you guys are, liking and subbing on the videos. That way, if you put any comments in, we can go ahead and make sure to get those in those random generator kind of things. So your interaction helps our interaction.
Sure, it's encouraging at a minimum, just basic human nature, that says, "Hey, we're in a weird time in TCGs." It's funny because that's I was just talking with Pat prior to the show, enough so that he was saying, "Let's just go live." And it's funny because we had a long conversation in Facebook the other day, and I was like, we're wasting golden content here. And they're like, sometimes I just want to talk to my bros, and there's a degree of that. So we're real people behind the cameras here. But I think that the conversations that we have, nonetheless, are really what most of you want to hear from us, right? It's the type of straight shooting content that I guess we're kind of known for. That there's no ulterior motives. We're not trying to sell you anything, and hopefully it's in the grassroots where all of you are, and that's where we are. Just we might pay a little more attention at times and do a little more background digging and have the fortunate ability to communicate with other content creators, which I had the pleasure this afternoon, spending most of the afternoon with Big Box Dave.
Oh yeah, how's BBD doing?
He's doing pretty well. We were discussing state of TCGs and catching up on personal stuff, and he seemed genuinely interested to hear what I had to say, and I was genuinely interested in his take on things. Certainly more like-minded, but he's more only into the Magic scene, and I had some words that I think he was a little concerned about. We were talking about the health of TCGs in general.
That's definitely a big thing right now, and it's funny you say that. I've got a number of different product lines from different trading card games here. I've got some Legions, Realms at War, a couple of packs of that, right? I've got a booster box of some Flesh and Blood, and then I just recently picked up some Lorcana along with my whole sealed Magic collection. So I am, like a kid in a candy store. And as I'm looking through these different products, I'm trying to figure what ones are doing the best, right? How are they handling the current market? And like we were saying behind the scenes, I think Lorcana's got a lot of room to grow, but out the gates, it was a huge stumble. Honestly, not being able to get product into people's hands is one of the biggest issues. Whereas stuff like Magic the Gathering, it's just the opposite. They've got so much product available that it's on the buyer to actually choose what they want to get, especially now with the different types of products that they're putting out, between your regular booster box, your set box, your collector, your special collector's editions, your commander decks. There's so much different stuff. And I gotta say, I really like how Flesh and Blood has stuck with just their one booster box line and then the Blitz decks. So you've got your, pre-cons, an easy way to get in the game, and then you've got your supplementary products that, buff those things up. What's your opinion on this stuff, Bob?
Well, of course, that's it's never just like super black and white. And I spend a great deal of time thinking about a lot of these things and then reading up on it and then trying to get a finger on the pulse and talking to other content creators. And it's difficult, and probably for most of you out there as well, to sum up in just a few concise words how you feel about anything um, in the TCG space. Magic certainly is rife with issues. They just closed down the Magic Judge Academy, and
Well,
that I
who's gonna take care of tournaments? What are they
that's
doing? It's like they're
dude.
gutting themselves.
Uh, well, and Troll and Toad, I don't know if you heard this week, announced that after 30 years they're getting out of the Magic game. Well, I think that's pretty appropriate there, BBD. And I'm covering,
Yeah,
just in case
right.
you're catching up, some of the things that we were discussing, and that's the health of the TCG world at the moment, and even Lorcana. Like you said, I wouldn't say that they necessarily stumbled themselves, and we covered it on previous shows where a lot of people are just completely forgetting that they were staring down the barrel of a lawsuit just prior to release, right? When they're
Mm,
making the decisions on final distribution numbers and print runs. And it's a brand new game from a company, not Disney, company that's made other games
yeah,
but had
absolutely
never made a
true.
TCG before.
Ravensburger has definitely had
Well, thank
a
you. Thank you.
different line of products previously. So getting into a huge shift from producing board games, which are a low consumption product. You buy one board game of Villainous, and that's all you need. Whereas
Yeah.
I could buy one booster box of Lorcana. Bob buys 18 because he wants, 3 cases, one to open, two to shelf. A game store could take between 4 boxes and 4 cases. And I think that their online sales portal definitely needs a change. There has to be a preventative measure for people who are botting. I mean, between shoe sales, PS5s, and Xboxes, Lorcana was just the next thing to get hit. And Bob and I are both in some Facebook groups, and we've seen some reasonably shady people with the quantity of boxes that they've gotten. I I don't know if all of the Walmarts and Targets in my entire state got the same quantity as some of the schmucks we're seeing online. I mean,
Oh,
15
I could promise
cases
you they didn't.
like that's just obscene. That's I,
And
untenable.
it's I don't want to bash necessarily Ravensburger for that problem, right? Um, if Lorcana had come out and nobody really gave a shit about it, if it wasn't for the massive lines that we saw at Gen Con,
Oh
you
my
wouldn't
god.
have these.
Yeah.
And if you're a flipper, um, scalper listening to this, F you. You're screwing the game up.
And that
Um,
was one of the interesting things. I was on Super Fast Tortoises. I was watching his Under the Shell, or whatever he's calling his daytime program there. Interesting talk, but one of the things was I had mentioned I got some Lorcana, and people were already asking if they could buy packs.
right. And
It's
and
like,
that's
I mean,
this is a toxic way to come out of the gate. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
yeah,
bad for the health of the game. It's how much of that's Ravensburger's fault or Ravensburger. I don't care how you want to pronounce it. Like when you're staring down the barrel of a potential cease and desist order for your brand new game because of potential issues with
right,
stealing
right.
IPs and blah 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 from Upper Deck, go look it up if you're not familiar with it.
Hmm.
Can you really blame them for being slightly conservative with their print run numbers? I mean, you could bankrupt the parent company. Not even the parent company, it's the company itself. You could bankrupt the rest of your company by taking a gamble of printing off, say, $50 million worth of inventory that you have to now sit on and store and keep. That's a very dangerous game to play. Ravensburger doesn't have the warehouses all over the United States, frankly, all over the world, to be holding on to product. Yo, what's up, Dual Brain? So I don't
Yo.
want to bash them too much, though. I was watching what's it called? May the Zoo Be With You with
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Josh and Kitchen Table.
yeah.
That they brought up a good point. Well, at least Josh brought up a good point, saying that like sorcery, and it got me thinking. Did something, I don't know how great it is, but it was helpful since they only had the Kickstarter and they don't have a guaranteed 4-set release per year schedule before they've released their first set. I would honestly probably change the business model for new games coming out. And your first run, have at least 6 months to try to gauge interest, reprints, getting more time at the printer, reserving it, whatever they need to do. It's their first foray into TCGs. It's, if anybody bashes, I mean, look at what WotC made for the first run, right? I think it was like Dual Brain could probably correct me. I think there was like, I want to say like 13,000 or 26,000 total boxes of alpha, period, something like that.
Right. And, one of the things that's been interesting, both Bob and I had talked about it. Louis is a hack. Honestly, he even talks very openly about the terrible decision making he has he's said openly, I don't understand how I have a store. Well, see,
and God bless
that's
him.
that's
I'd
what's
like to get him
wild.
on the show. We had Josh here, and I'd like to talk to him, like a real person. I've been able to talk
Yeah,
to, in person. Well, today I was able to talk to you. I was able to talk to
yeah.
BBD. I'd like to talk more to Dual Brain. It's been a hot minute. Been watching your Gen Con stuff. I know it's 1,080 of each rare, but I think I'm talking about the boxes, right? Like if I remember right, for their alpha release, they didn't even have enough on hand for Gen Con when they first released it in '93, and there were some more like in a warehouse, and some funky shit happened there. Those boxes, also, by the way, just as a note, those were not shrink wrapped either, folks. The alpha boxes,
Mm,
and that was their first foray into the TCG market, right? And we don't bash WotC for their terrible distribution model in 1993 for
right.
how
Their
they came out
first
with
set,
product. Now, I bet you
30
Lorcana had a
years
lot more
ago
than
plus.
13,000
No, 30
boxes.
years, yeah. But
So
as far
it
as different TCGs and the competition in the market, I really think that Flesh and Blood was really onto something with their first edition and their unlimited. They have
I liked
certain
it better that way. I did. I liked the. I thought it was a mistake personally, um, to switch to this one release only, right?
Mm,
Like this evergreen sort of release. I liked the first edition and unlimited. I thought that's a better model personally,
yeah,
at least for a collectability aspect. And if you look, since they went away from that, their boxes are only hovering like at that what $70-$80 mark. They can't
yeah,
seem to break above
80
that.
give or take, and some of them. I mean, I was looking. I think I can get Monarch at like $65 right now for Monarch Unlimited. Probably even cheaper than that because I bought from that seller before, and I think I got two of them for like $55 a piece. And it's wild that at such a cheap price that there's like a profit margin, unlike Magic the Gathering now, where you are practically
Mm,
guaranteed, not the big
mhm.
old G, but the little g. You're pretty much guaranteed that if you open a Magic the Gathering product, it's a it's like going to the movie theater. You get your entertainment out of it, but there's no monetary payoff outside of the enjoyment of what you spent your money on.
I'm
It's
just going to say it because you're dancing around it, but it's a guaranteed loss, right?
well,
And that's a
right.
feel bad, right?
It's tough to call it a loss when there's like that enjoyment factor, but it is.
Okay,
It's a
and that's
monetary
fine.
loss.
But
Yeah, yeah,
then let's rephrase that as the price tag is awfully high for the entertainment value you're getting
a
out of those
hundred
boxes.
percent. Yeah, and
And I
with
don't want to pay that much for a game. There's no game I play
yeah,
that costs me that much. I don't care if you were buying a brand new PS5 every year and a bunch of games to plug into it or Steam subscriptions or whatever.
right,
The
right.
amount of hours that you put into it, so there's always been an inherent value in TCGs. That's why they have this, the collectible aspect to them. And I think that WotC's done its absolute best to try to drain any kind of inherent
Mm,
value out of Well, it's only a lottery if there's any chance of actually winning, and
Right.
that's just
And
not a thing anymore.
yeah.
And they keep
Well,
what they do. What's happening now, and what I've been thinking about a lot with Magic is that there are people making money, right? But it used to be a much larger pool of people making a little bit of money and having some, I don't want to call it like investment vehicle, but it's such an expensive game that you always felt that if you held on to your good cards throughout the years, that eventually you could trade those up and get
right,
more of the new
right.
cards. There was
Yeah.
something, there was some sort of value that you were building towards in your collection. So,
Mm,
and you would have the extra copies and whatnot, and you could trade some of that off at some point to try to get
yeah,
into the new modern meta, to try to pick up some of the new baller cards.
yeah.
And you just can't do that anymore. Right
Well,
now, and I've
right,
said it to
yeah.
you behind the scenes, you open it up. What's the first thing you do with a banger card?
You fucking sell it.
Right? Like, that's
Yeah.
just what you do with Magic
Oh,
now.
yeah, absolutely, and, like, that's my thought. When Ed says, "You always lose when you play the lottery," in respect to Magic: The Gathering pack opening, if you get one of those air quote "lottery cards," right? Me and my buddy had gotten some of that Double Masters 22, right? We wanted to open some packs, we wanted to keep some sealed. So we had 4 loose collectors. He opens up one of those textured Ulamongs, right? No, Kozilek, pardon. Right out the gate, thing was like $350, $400. Oh man, we got to keep that one. It's only going to go up. Wrong as shit, Bob. That's what we were. It's like $100 now, less than a third of its opening
But
value.
I think that's part of the problem. Honestly, I think that they being WotC, has begun to approach the model, or over the last years, completely last, 4 or 5 years, Project Booster Fund. I don't know where you want to where you want to draw that dividing line. Is
Mm,
that that's that expectation now, right? That, oh, I'm going to open that card and it's going to go up before, that's not how you used to open cards, right? And it
right.
was a successful model for so long that you open it up, you're like, oh, this will probably be a good card. It'll probably go up, and that's even up until recently, like 2016, 17, right? That you could open it and it wasn't like, oh, I hit the lottery, ding, 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 win, cash it
Right,
in quick
right.
before it loses its value. Um,
100%. And, I was
that's what it's
recording
become.
some Lorcana shorts this morning before I broke my tooth, which, so guys, that's why I'm doing the no camera thing. I just got a bag
Poor
of
guy.
ice on my face, and, well, it's not a pretty face anyways. Um, as I was going through some Lorcana packs, I'm like, "Oh, man, this is a good card." I wasn't thinking, "Oh, I've gotta sell this off right away." I'm thinking, "No, this is a powerful card that I can put into a deck, make it better, use it." And that's how I felt about Magic when I was in high school. I was enthused with making decks. I was excited to get a good card because I could tap my Prodigal Sorcerer and do 1 damage to any target. I mean, whoa, everybody discards their hand and draws 7 more cards. You don't get that kind of shit in this game yet. So it's a standout card. That's exciting to me. And with Magic the Gathering, with the rate that they're putting out cards, swear to God, if it wasn't for Matt's shorts, I wouldn't know what the fuck was in any of these sets coming out.
Honestly, I'm not even watching Matt Shorts.
Like,
I've lost so much interest in so many aspects of Magic at the moment. I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse. I'm trying to talk to folks. I'm trying to find some spot that I can find some enjoyment out of it again. And I'm just having coach, he said it best a few weeks back. I shouldn't have to try to make it fun, right? It's supposed to
right,
be fun,
right.
and we shouldn't have to make Magic great again. It should just be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, oh,
And it
absolutely.
doesn't feel like that for me, at least, and it's not just 30 years. It's
Mm,
the direction that they've taken, right? It's the choices that they've made with what they're doing with the direction of the game. And Matt was talking the other day, um, about how, well, it's still very playable, um,
oh,
and
absolutely, Dual Brain. I mean, some of the only Magic videos that I watch at this point are fucking perps. As much as I hate the guy, he's like the only Magic news outlet besides Rudy, and half of what Rudy says is, falsehoods and just flowery bullshit. A
well,
quarter
Rudy's
shilling for
starting to
some of
sound
the
an
news.
awful lot like Gaming Bob lately. I hate
Yeah.
to say it, but he is
Yeah,
talking
so
about
I
the
mean,
reprint.
it's always that, drama sells, sex sells. So I mean, it's it's the easiest thing for people to do is say that the world is sky is falling kind of shit. And as pragmatic as I want to be, I don't want to fill up our slot, whatever it is, right, with just shitting on stuff.
Yeah, I
And
don't want to either. I really
yeah.
don't. And it's funny that you say that because, taking a look at the wider picture, we're talking about the problems with Lorcana. Let's spill what that problem is. That it's not just the players that can't get the product. I think a bigger problem is that the stores can't get the product.
Oh
Is that they
yeah.
can't hold and support leagues to generate that loyal following that's enjoying playing the game. Because as I hear, people want to come out and play Lorcana. People want to have. I want to. As a matter of fact, I totally forgot. What I wanted to do today was call out to the local game stores and find any of them that are taking reservations for the Rise of the Floodborn leagues, just to see if I can put. Since I can't seem to get freaking pre-orders, can I at least pre-sign up for leagues? And I think that's a problem.
I think communists might come off a bit strong, but I think it's definitely been
It's a socialist look for sure.
In retrospect, it didn't pay off. I think that
I never supported that.
For years. I think we heard a lot of content creators, going back and looking at some older videos, reprint the fetch lands, reprint them in a meaningful way. Well, they fucking did. And there was nonstop Modern Horizons 2. I think they printed that shit like 13 different waves. So people got what they wished for. And it didn't work out very well. There's the need and there's the want, two very separate things. And I think, unfortunately, they got what they wanted, and what they needed was for that shit to continue to stay rare.
Honestly, it's the same deal with Dominaria Remastered. That's why 6 months after release, it went from $200 down to 111 after 6 months. And let me ask you this: how shitty are the cards in Dominaria Remastered?
Well, I gotta say that they're
great cards.
Like the print quality is similar to Time Spiral Remastered, and people don't crap on that near enough. Those are some scratchy ass cards in both of those products. And then on top of that, Dominaria Remastered was printed so heavily and then fucking fire sailed that the value of any of them is just through the floor. Tutors used to be a chase,
Actually, Dual Brain, if you want to put up his comment there, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't even say that it would be good intentions. It's like the lazy parent that just hands an entire package of Oreo cookies to their kid because that's what they want and it'll keep them quiet.
Yeah.
Neither good for the parent nor the child, right? And it's what WotC's done, right? And how did it benefit WotC? Like the parent kept the kid from screaming.
What
WotC's done is they kept the kid from screaming, and it was making people buy things, right? So people were buying, and they had these massive, spike in numbers. Of course you do. The problem is you have to always ask, what is the consequence of feeding this kid an entire package of Oreos night after night? What is the consequence of making this giant spike in numbers and making insane claims that it could possibly be sustainable and not crash back down? Is just, it's absurd. Now, the only thing you can think of is that the people that are on the ride as the rocket's going up, they have cocktail parties and read wiki pages. And when it starts to come back down to earth, I'd like to see what happens to those two. I think that'll be very interesting to see. But in the meantime, the long-term
magic distribution.
What's that?
Hey, spare the rod, spoil the child. That's a hard translation into magic distribution, but I definitely see what you mean.
I wouldn't say that.
There's a fine line, and
sure,
I think
I'll agree with that.
One of the biggest issues, right? I was thinking about this while I was laying in bed, rolling around, holding my face earlier. Right, I was thinking to myself, wait, there were like 3.1 million collectors booster packs of Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
There was now how many boxes
on the first wave?
Do you think they
Let's
printed?
specify that. on the first wave, you mean the ones that could contain the one ring, because they
right?
have other collector boosters coming up.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, how many fucking packs of Lorcana did they print? If there were like 50,000 booster boxes, which honestly seems on
I
the
don't think
far
so.
heavy side, realistically, at 24th packs per box, that's like a quarter million. What the fuck are you guys doing? Like,
No, if
I
there's
think
50,000 and there's 24, that would be about 1,000,000 packs, right? Something like that, a little
yeah,
over a
yeah,
million
yeah,
packs.
like 1.2, which
But that's still
still
1/3 of the collector packs of Lord of the Rings, right? Like, to put it in perspective. So,
oh wow, I think a lot of issues stem between Wizards of the Coast and the collector base and the mixed expectations between what collectors wants, what Wizards of the Coast doesn't have to do, and the crying in between. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a huge difference in between like I mean, Wizards wants to make money. That's the only reason why they're doing all of these universes beyond is to
look,
try
and
and
I think
get
all of
into
us want
markets that
them to
they're
make
not.
money. I think all of
And
us want them to make money. I do. But the problem is somebody, and not us, it's not, look, it's none of our listeners' responsibilities, not yours, not mine, to do that in a responsible way. We don't get paid for that. That's not our jobs. It is the jobs of the folks up there at WotC, right?
and
And,
you
and I don't
know,
want to jump on the whole ivory tower, but
uh,
in a responsible way, they're supposed to be watching and be good shepherds over something that they were gifted, in my opinion, from a lot of people before them that built carefully over decades a great game, a great consumer base, a great fan base. And they said, F it, I'm going to stick my finger right in the hole and just pull all the good juice out, right? That they said, I'm
uh,
cashing
uh,
in on the labors of 30 years, right?
yeah,
And I'm
man,
going to
coming out
squeeze
with
it
some
so that it'll look
shots.
good on my resume.
Uh,
And then they'll cry, oh, we're just trying to satisfy the public. You think they give a shit about the public? No. What they
no,
care
I
about
think they
is
want
how
to
many sales
satisfy
they.
public demand, aka sales.
I don't even want to say public demand, because what they're doing is they took advantage of the distribution network that they had. And if you don't think that they've done serious damage to that whole
Mhm.
chain with the distributors and LGSs, think again. Look at Troll and Toad getting out after 30 years. And it's going to get worse,
Yeah, and
because
to
every
speak to
time they
that, I
pull
think
a
that that's
Amazon dump, they just probably close down the doors of 10 different LGSs out there.
mm. And to speak to that, I think that Lorcana did really well in that they gave 2 weeks to local gaming stores, the few and far in between that were able to get product in hand. They gave a 14-day period to LGSs to be able to sell product before they sold it in any big gaming stores or online. And I think that that's a very good signal as to the relationship that the producers of the game itself, Ravensburger. Let's go back and forth, potato fucking potato. Ravensburger is going to be getting a better relationship with LGSs by doing that. And I know
Honestly,
some.
I thought
Mhm.
about that today. And if I was them, for all these subsequent release waves, all draft boxes, and I mean every one of them, should be going to LGSs. The LGSs are going to have to be the gatekeepers to prevent the dirty scalpers from buying up all the product and choking the life out of it. Because what good does a draft box do for a league sitting on a Walmart shelf? None. Zero.
Right.
So they need to be, if it's that limited, they need to be controlling that by pushing those draft boxes. Like if you want to put the the gift boxes and the starter decks and the troves in Walmart, fine,
Oh yeah.
right? Those don't really have a place that will build the gaming community for Lorcana. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like
Oh
the
yeah.
draft
Those.
boxes are purely what they must have
Oh
to
yeah.
have a
I think
healthy
that yeah,
market.
that's a great point because if you go to a store, like when I went to Walmart, right, and I bought 18 packs, I had to scan 18 fucking packs. Right, and that's just stupid. Whereas Walmart would be better off selling those higher priced items, your Lumineers Trove, your gift sets and shit like that. I think that that would be a better place to sell those items. definitely make that available through their distribution network to local gaming stores. But I definitely agree that maybe the blister packs in Walmart, yeah,
Sure.
cool. They're made for that hanger shelf. Whereas the booster boxes, I think, would definitely be a better place in local gaming stores. But I also think that just having more fucking product would be their biggest thing at all. There wasn't enough to sell it anywhere.
Well, we need to be, like I said, we need to take into consideration that they were staring down a potential cease and
Yeah.
desist lawsuit,
And we also don't know any
just prior to
production
release, right?
numbers. That's one of the things to, a big shout out to Flesh and Blood with how much they do present their production numbers. We don't see that shit for anything else. So it is
No, that
literally
was one of the
a
things
guessing
I
game.
said at Gen Con. And that's why they gave me the business card for their PR firm. I
Oh,
said
really?
that they should do that. It doesn't have to be right now. It could be 2 years down the road.
Hmm.
But what it does do is it does the thing that BBD and
Yeah,
I were talking
absolutely.
about. He said that if I was in charge of WotC, how would I fix it? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I can. But I said they've broken the trust with people. They've certainly broken it with me. You hear it all the time. It's not just a Gaming Bob take on this, but they have violated the trust between their consumers and the company. And they need to start doing everything they can to restore that trust and faith in the company. And I know a lot of people would, poo-poo on that, saying it's a game. They sell packs. What do you mean trust? Well, there is a degree of trust because, like Ed said, it is a collectible. They marketed it as a collectible. It's been a collectible for 30 years. To suddenly just go up and say, you know what? It's no longer a collectible. It's a living card game. We're going to print the shit out of everything. But they still want to squeeze the pennies out of it as a collectible. So it's a real scumbag thing that they're doing, in my opinion.
Well, that's one
And
of
so
the
how do
interesting
they
things.
fix that? I don't know. And
Yeah.
and Lorcana should start, hopefully follow at least that example from Flesh and Blood, where they're more transparent. I think that Flesh and Blood isn't just transparent with their print run numbers. James White talks about all of his decisions. If you monitor Flesh and Blood's webpage, he talks about the decisions that affect the direction of the game.
Hmm.
Right. And
Yeah,
they need to do a lot more of that and be sincere and accurate about it.
and I think that one of the things, through my discussion with sales reps when we were at Gen Con and your discussion with some of the PR people, that Lorcana is supposedly going to be printed in such large quantities that people will have availability of game pieces in a very specific way. I mean that word. And that there will be some rare collector's items within those, aka the enchanted stuff Sherry was so blessed to get one of. I think
Two
that
of them.
those things are similar to the Kaladesh inventions, where you do not get them in every box. It's like one a case, something like that. And I think that that's a way better way to handle it, is that those are versions of cards that you can get pretty readily. Make things rare, less rare. You've got common, uncommon, all that different shit. They've got like 6 different levels of that. Cool. That's a good way to do it.
Hey, coach.
Yo, coach, a big shout out to
We were
you.
just talking
Make
about you.
sure, coach, that you send me your mailing stuff. I want to get you out one of these booster packs of Lorcana for giving me that heads up, dude. Some of these shorts are in your name. But as far as it has to be more clear what their intentions are as a company. I think Flesh and Blood going down to a single model and James White's clarity with his communication with the audience is so much better than what we're getting from Magic the Gathering's talking heads. We're getting pretty much, it feels like a lie realistically from Ravensburger's people, where they're saying it's going to be so available, and it's just very
I,
fucking clearly not.
I'm going to say this, that it's that's their intent, is what I'm hearing. But that's an impossible thing to state. You can't possibly know how many boxes people are going to buy, right? There's no way to predict, even if they print 5 million more boxes, 10 million more boxes, that they won't all get snatched up, right? That's not something that they can even guesstimate at this point. They made a colossal undercalculation. They were also faced with different scenarios. And I'm going to say, look, folks, let's be real. It's a game that's 2 months old. It's 2 months old. So to this point, I'm going to say they've done well-ish. Hey,
Yo,
time
what up,
capsule.
time
Hey, can you
capsule?
run down to your store and pick me up a pack of Lorcana? Thanks. Um, I think that
Yo, 6.98 at my local Walmart, you know? It's so wild, and I was doing the math on that, right? At about $7 a pack, you got 24 packs. It's like $168 a box. Though, as I was saying multiple times, if it's under 200 bucks, I'll buy pretty much anything I can afford. And so I fucking paid for everything they had. I told coach, you know, fucking 10 o'clock at night, I bought everything. I hope you got what you wanted beforehand. You know, I
I
bought
hope
more.
I hope that they print more, to your point, right?
Hmm.
I think that that is a bigger solution. I think that they need to drive off the scalpers, right? They need to print it to a point where the scalpers are just not interested. There's not enough meat on the bone. They're not going to go buying up, $100 boxes to sell them for $101, right? That's just
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Especially with
and
your 13% fees that you're paying on any
sure.
platform.
And
You
that's what I'm
know, it
saying.
would,
They need to
yeah.
find that level. I don't think that, and I don't think that they said they were going to print it to where it's widely available. I said I believe the verbiage they
Much
used that I
love, much
recall
love.
is that they want to print it to that level. And I think that's a good I think that that's a good indication, right? That they want it to be available at MSRP. That is their um what do they call that? Not a mantra, but their business it's their goal, right? That's what they
Yeah.
want to do. Now, will they be able to? There's probably a great number of things beyond their control. Not the least of which is, print time on the printers. I mean, look how many games are out there.
Oh, that's one of the
Good
wildest
effing
things
luck
to
trying to
me.
buy more time on a printer right now.
You know, a big shout out to fucking Pokemon with just buying some of their own printers. Like, honestly, that is just how is Wizards of the Coast? Okay, maybe they did. Maybe WotC has their own printers at this point because they're making so much
Time capsule. I
fucking
hate your
product.
LGS.
Like,
Fucking scumbags.
that's what's wild is that I understand Ravensburger is a board game company, puzzle making company for the most part in their, business history. And this is a huge foray into a different media for them. But at the same time, come on, how is printer time still a fucking thing? Oh, and yeah,
Oh, because there's
Pokemon
so many
foils don't
more
curl.
games.
And you know what else doesn't curl? Lorcana stuff.
It
Big
doesn't.
shout out to,
Lorcana is flat.
being able to actually, I don't know who they're going through, but they can make flat cards,
Yep,
unlike
they sure
Legions
do.
Realms at War. Oh, shit, I said that
Well,
out
but I
loud.
mean, to that point, right? You have Grand Archive now, and One Piece, and Sorcery, and
Oh, fuck me.
Flesh and
Yeah,
Blood, and the list
I
goes
got
on.
some like free. Yeah, yeah.
That's why you
Oh,
don't have
Price
time at
Sports and all
printers,
that
right?
stuff. Yeah.
Right? You don't. It's so difficult. So that's what I was saying earlier about okay, Sorcery. I kind of like that take that they don't commit to multiple sets a year, to buy them time to let the game, it breathe like a bottle of wine, and you're not just chugging it the second you pop the cork. Um,
Yeah, and it helps for maturation of the metagame as well for people
sure.
that are actually playing. Like, I don't know how I want to fit the One Ring into decks. I just know it's a good card. Oh shit, that was 6 months ago, and now I have to think about how I put Moonshaker Cavalry into decks. Oh wait,
Oh, you're behind the times, my friend. You got to be
What
looking
does
at
Rest in
Doctor
Peace
Who.
even do? Like, Legolas's super cool new card Matt was previewing for us. How the fuck? I don't I can't keep up with all this shit. At least with like, I mean, for me right now, right? Lorcana is like my big focus. That's where I want to jam a bunch of games, right? Even with like the 208 cards that they put out, you can combine two of the six different colors. So there are so many different combinations for ramp, for big card payoff, for protection, for aggro. Like there's deck building stuff that with that limited pool is still so deep. But with Magic the Gathering and the rapidity that they're coming out with sets, I can't stick with it. They my attention span is only so fair, and they are not being very fucking fair to my attention span.
I don't. I mean, I don't know how many of these problems are going to present themselves down the road to Lorcana as well. I get it. Their businesses need to sell cards in order to make money. They need to sell boxes. Um, part of the conversation again with BBD was talking about what he said. Well, you think Magic's going to die, and that trips back down to our conversation we had a few weeks ago, talking about what does that mean
Oh,
for a
dude,
game to
Magic's
die.
overwhelming. Fucking A. You got it, coach.
And it is overwhelming, right? And as part of that, even if dying means that they stop producing any cards at this point, you've got decades, most people, to like you were saying, Pat. What's one of the
Dude,
reasons that you love playing
what the
Commander
fuck is a
Rage with me?
wumpus? What the
Right,
fuck is a
right.
wumpus?
That should
Like,
be like a sticker for us. What's a wumpus? Right?
yeah, like,
There's so many cards
yeah.
I haven't even seen. Right? And
Oh,
and
dude,
and
we
it's
gotta that should be a pin. Like, because honestly, that's a cool looking critter. It's like an elephant with, I don't know, a lion's head or some shit. Just says,
it's
"What's a
got a
wumpus?"
wumpus head.
Yeah,
It's a wumpus.
a sticker or some shit. Ed, hook me up with your guy. I wanna make some pins.
So and it's to that point, what you're talking about, that it could be decades, even if most people wouldn't even. First off, with the healthy secondary market, meaning healthy as in you could buy just about any Magic box you want.
Mhm.
Um,
Whereas time
it would
capsules,
take
working with
decades for Rudy and everybody else to drain, and the dolphins like me and the bigger whales than me
mm.
to get all the product off of their shelves for the next few decades. It's been
Yeah,
so
and I mean,
prolifically printed, and cards we haven't seen. It would still be fun because there's going to be sets everybody's missed. There's going to be cards that you've never seen. It would take. I don't. I'm sure Magic won't die, meaning that nobody plays it within my lifetime, even if it dies in the eyes of the WotC Hasbro execs. So um, I don't know what that means. Now, for Lorcana, they could kill it really before it gets off the ground with these scalper flippers, right? That they just make people uninterested. I've lost a great deal of interest in Lorcana, not because of Ravensburger. I've not lost interest because of the gameplay. It certainly is engrossing, and I play on Pixelborn several times a week.
I mean, right now
It's
we
not
can
because of
start
card
referring to him.
quality.
Oh,
It's
let's
it's
just refer
because of
to
the
him as
scalpers
nothing
that
burger.
I can't
Yeah.
get my hands on it. And I'm looking in the Discord, and a dude's opening his third round of 15 cases of it. Right? So I
Yeah.
can't even get one pack of it, let alone 15 cases of it. And it's that mentality, that problem that was not of the making of Ravensburger. If you want to accuse them of anything, they didn't make too much. But if they make too much, they'll get accused of everybody, like every other game. Oh, you printed it into oblivion. And I think initially, kind of printing it into oblivion would be more helpful. At this point, they've already established there's an undeniable, insatiable demand out there for Lorcana.
Oh,
And
yeah, I mean,
at this point, they
I'd
need to
like
step on
to
the
say
gas.
that
Let's,
there's
let's give them time to do that.
yeah,
Let's give
and
them a
it's
little
not
bit of time
even
to
a
do that.
healthy secondary market, like,
No,
Time's
it's
dealing
not.
with. He said he was saying it was, like, $20 a pack to get it down to his LGS. Motherfuckers, I went down to Walmart, they were $7 a pack. If I
That's a great question, coach.
what it's just ridiculous because as I'm opening these, I'm thinking, "Huh, I could just sell them online." I got a pretty solid TCG store, right? I'm TCG player, and is it worth it to me? No, it's not. I I'm enjoying going through these. When you were doing your deck and we were going through each card, oh my god. I was inches away from the fucking screen. I got a 40-inch monitor. It's not great for my eyes, but I was that into it. And I couldn't imagine just scalping these because of the fun I can have. And that's unfortunately why people are able to sell them at that price because there are so many people that want to get in at it.
Can you pop up coach's comment there? I think that's a great question. And what I'm going to say is something that BBD and I talked about at length today for on a great number of topics. And that's it. I don't think that it's a black and white answer. Would I be as into Lorcana if it was super available in every store flooding the shelves? I would be. I personally would be. I would have a good chunk of it. I think that it would be healthier for the stores. When I say stores, I'm talking about LGS stores. I don't really care about Walmart's, but I think that it would be helpful for the community to have access to it. Right?
Oh,
I'm not saying
absolutely.
keep
I
printing
think
it into oblivion
yeah.
and never allowing it to breathe, but you have to let it get off the ground first to allow it to breathe. It's got to be born first. And right now, I don't even really consider Lorcana as a game that's out, because try to get into a league right now. Try to get to an LGS that's playing it on any kind of consistent schedule. I challenge anybody to try it. I've tried, and the answer is no, you can't. And that is death for a game, for a TCG at least. So having an excess glut of the product, eventually it will sell through, right? And they can dial down the numbers.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's
it's just
healthier for the collectible aspect that they underprinted it. I think that will breed into it scarcity and ultimate availability for an ultimate collector's item.
wait,
However, I think
that's
it will kill the market as far as
yeah,
gameplay ability, that it just doesn't build an audience that wants the
right,
cards.
and that's kinda my worry is that in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if it was intentional in the short run of this first release for it to be a rarity to have your hands on product, especially a sealed anything, right? It's
I
pretty
don't
much
think it was
sealed.
intentional to make it as rare as it is. I think that, just like I'm going to put it this way, there's a game called Ashes of Creation, and it's still not even out yet. It was a Kickstarter game, and if you've ever played an MMO that is um, open world PvP, and they want to
Yeah,
have
like a
that, and they want to
raid.
have like this, like every server's different, and you build communities and you build these cities and whatnot, but it's open world PvP. And if you're not familiar with what that means, is that any level 99 can go out and crush any level 1, right? And
Always a
and
fun
when
experience.
oh, so terrible. And if that level 99 is making 100 people quit a month or 10 people a day quit, because they just get into the game and this is their experience, then it's terrible, right? And I tried to explain to the game designer Steve Butternuts, I don't remember his name, um, and I was in a Discord chat with him saying, I've been playing MMO since Ultima Online back in the mid '90s, and it's a terrible idea to have uncontrolled open world PvP in an MMO. You'll drive away your customers. One griefer will drive away. And the people were, all the pie in the sky people in that channel that were, polishing his knob, talking about how why would people grief people? Because they can. And in all honesty, the
Yeah.
reason that people and scalpers are buying Lorcana in these numbers that they're doing is because they can. Is it griefing? Not for the purpose of griefing. It's based on greed, so different aims, but they're doing it because it is allowed, right? Because it can happen. They can.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's shiesty.
wonderful Miss
It's
Sherry Vegas, bringing me my
you know,
goofy coffee mug.
it's
But
not
that's
a yeah, it's not a
I
good
love
look
you
for
too.
me.
So, but do you understand? Do you understand the correlation that I'm trying to make there? Is that you know it's the responsibility of the game designer to try to keep that in check. And I think the way that you could do that with Arcana is by only allowing boxes available to the LGSs, which trips into the next part of my conversation for the wonderful folks like Time Capsules LGS, right? The scumbag LGSs that are trying to capitalize because they've been hosed so badly on their decisions for Magic the Gathering that they're trying to make up the loss in revenue by
Oh,
strangling
right.
out of a
Yeah.
new game, right? And selling
No,
it
and
themselves as
that's a
a
fair
TCG player
point,
or a
you know,
TCG player.
that the mistreatment of local game stores by other companies and the way that they're forced to buy product or they'll get cut off from further purchases of products and having to make money where they can. This is robbing from Peter to pay Paul. You know,
Correct.
you're stealing from Mickey so that you can pay off Big Brother. Like it's
Jace. Stealing from
you know,
Mickey to pay Jace.
it's true that keeping it limited would make it more desired, but at this point, I mean, current market price
What?
for a sealed air quote sealed box of first chapter is 350 plus. MSRP it was $143. I
So
mean, I could have bought the whole box at Walmart for 168, sold it, and made 100% profit minus seller's
wow.
fees, and that's just
So
straight fucked.
so many great comments in chat tonight. Keep them coming out. We'll try to field this.
Yeah,
I agree, Coach, to your statement that it makes it more desired, but more desired by who? And that would be the collectors, right? And the collectors are doing that. We haven't had a chance to create a player collector market yet, right? So because it's not the first TCG, Magic had players at first. That's what made it great. That's what made the cards desirable. That's who the
right, the
collectors
dedication of
sellers
people
were
that
trying to sell
wanted
it
them.
to.
Yeah,
Right now, you just have the collectors because there's no real place to play it, right? There's no marketplace to take the cards to and show them off and play with people. They need to get that established first. And I think that time capsule, honestly, I'm going to say that most of it in reality is due to a number of things, and I'm probably way off. I'm going to say that yes, they underestimated the demand. Though it seems really weird that you wouldn't even get enough boxes at this point. If you're creating a TCG, you have to know how many local game stores there are in the world. Roughly, I'm going to say 6,000 that you need to plan for. And when you talk about a new game, you need to make sure. I mean, if individual content creators like Dual Brain can get cases of Cryptic, like he sold multiple cases, a store has to be able to handle a greater volume. And I would have planned for at least between 5 to 10 cases for each store, if not, and that's probably way underestimating. Like 20 cases per store is what I would have printed,
right,
like
and I
as a
mean,
start.
yeah,
But I would have
absolutely.
limited, the channeling of that, saying, look, we're only going to give draft boxes to stores. They don't have a place in a Walmart or an online place. Now, if the LGSs want to fuck this up and do scumbag things like they do with Time Capsule and charging $20 to their patrons, then I hope that there's an LGS close by that's saying we'll sell them at $6 a pack.
Right,
Right. And they
right.
sell through. And then Mr. Greedy Time Capsule LGS sits there with his, thumb in his penis going, why can't I sell this product? And so if they sell them on TCG Player, well, then congratulations for contributing to the scumbag market. And you're probably not going to develop a healthy following in your store for long term if this game survives, right? And that's part of what they needed to do. I agree with Time Capsule. They didn't want to make it printed into the ground, and I don't believe that they intended, even if they wanted to keep it a little more rare for the first one. I don't think that they're into that conspiracy. I don't think they expected this level of demand, period.
Yeah, I think unfortunately some stores, some sellers are capitalizing on the collectability portion of it, whereas the player base is suffering from that.
Right.
It's sad that some of the toxicity and market practices of other trading card games is bleeding into this TCG. And it says right on it, trading card game, not collectible card game. Okay? And that's I believe their market aim. Their company goal at this point is to have a wide enough distribution that people can fucking play it. I think that if it were up to Ravensburger, they'd probably have packs available all the time so that people can get their starter decks. They can get a couple of loose blister packs. They can enjoy and play the game. People can go down to their local gaming stores, jam some games, buy more stuff. For the Disney bros and the Mickey moms and all that shit, there's those other things. There's the Disney 100 collectible thing. So you can put it up on your shelf and I can see Bob's got a distaste for it, but for certain markets, I think that that's a good idea. You make some items specific for the collectability aspect of it, but for the
No, I'm fine
wider
with that. I was burping.
audience,
I don't have a disdain for that. Uh, Um, I agree that it needs to be available in the game stores. Like, I don't know that it necessarily even needs a place like Target or Walmart. I don't think they need those. Honestly, I don't think Ravensburger needs those outlets. Not at this stage of the game. But what I'm going to say to that idea, and everybody here is, and I'm getting the feel and the gauge that everybody in the audience here also, thank God we don't have Matt here because he would disagree, that there needs to be more Lorcana product in the world. And I agree with that at this point. However, I'm going to advise a cautionary tale looking at you, Monarch. that they don't pull the flesh and blood, right? That they misgauge the demand and how much of it's purely due to speculation, right? And a lot of Lorcana, and you guys know, everybody that's listening here that has been listening to me for any period of time knows I've been talking about Lorcana and singing its praises since long before it was released, right? Like over a year ago, and not like, hey, yay, I'm super smart. What I'm saying is, I also have some concerns about it. I think they do need to get the safety seals on the boxes. Like that just needs to be a thing. If it isn't, I think that's going to be devastating for any kind of collectability long term. I think it's going to lead to shenanigans and bad feels all over the place. And I haven't heard about it being widespread yet, but I think that's only because there's just not enough product to really be widespread problems yet. But if they overprint it, right, and crush it like Monarch from Flesh and Blood, I think that will also be a mistake. And do you remember what the print run number was that crushed it for Monarch?
I
And
want to
understand, these are
say like
similar probably numbers.
125,000 boxes.
125,000 boxes. And I'm going to guess, at least at this point, from the best feeling I can get from looking all over the place, is that Ravensburger probably printed between 25 and 50,000 draft boxes. No idea on the troves and gift boxes. They printed probably the most of the starter decks. So I can't give you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, yeah. I guess that's a. But
it doesn't. It's not even the point. My point is that poor Flesh and Blood. You know, they had such a critical demand for the first 2 years, right? Or first year and a half, at least.
Yeah,
that they overshot the demand in the mark for Monarch. Right, there was other shenanigans surrounded by that, but it never recovered.
Well, ever. And I think that it followed to the next supplementary set, Tales of Aria.
It's still following it today.
Oh yeah, I mean, so one of the funny things, Tales of Aria only came out in first edition, but they released print run numbers for their unlimited, which never hit the market. Literally so much.
I thought Everfest did the same thing, right?
What's that?
I thought Everfest didn't ever release their unlimited either.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, there was just such a large production and not enough consumption of the product line for it to be solvent. And I think their box prices are somewhat reflective of that still
today. Well, what it does is it sets price memory. It sets price memory of the people, me included. What's the cost of a fab box now? Like, I'll be honest with you.
Up here in another tab.
I'm not. I don't know, but just from like watching and keeping tabs on it loosely, I'm saying like $85 a box is what I set as like the market value for a fab box. Right?
You're just a number in my head, but just a bit off here. Let me pull this up real quick.
I'm just saying that comes from like prior to Monarch.
You get it for $81. Look at that fucking chart. Isn't that hot? People love seeing that. Just sharp drop off.
Right. And here's what I'm saying is that because of what happened to them, right? If Ravensburger isn't careful, they could end up doing the same thing, gauging their prices in, right? Yeah. Even because clearly MSRP only matters to like Walmart. The only way I can see Walmart and Target and Best Buy being beneficial to Lorcana is if their boxes on the secondary market can't maintain the price of $143 moving forward. Then they get to sell it at that price for the Walmarts and whatnot to buff their numbers. But at that point, then I think the game's in real trouble. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily in real trouble now. Like I said, it's been alive for 2 minutes. And by 2 minutes, I mean 2 months.
It's difficult because it's so early in the game's life cycle to really judge what the decision making has really come down to, whether it's a few small things that made for big oopsies in their earliest release or if it was intentional. And I think that Rise of the Floodborn, the second set to come out for Lorcana, and all of their preceding releases coming out, succeeding releases, will be very telling of what their actual intentions are with their distribution model. And like you said, Bob, if starter decks are going to be the most common thing, that's great because it gets people into actually being able to play the game. So I look forward, and I hope everybody else is looking forward to Bob and I actually jamming some paper games of Lorcana. Should be pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've already done a little bit of you can catch some of our gameplay already for Pixelborn. If you haven't seen it, we have some videos out, and Pat just stuffing my belly button back inside my navel cavity. He mushed me pretty good. We're going to do some of that on Spell Table to look at physical cards and gameplay, but I don't know that it'll be that telling, right? Not for a while, like a year. If we look at the maturity of most card games, we don't gauge how things are going to go with even their first year. They're still feeling their way around. I think the 4 sets was a bit aggressive, to be honest. 4 sets per year. I think that's a great ideal to try to reach. I would say that if I was in the collectible card world, to adjust for scalpers, and maybe the next one can learn from Ravensburger, or maybe Ravensburger will learn from themselves. And that is that, okay, let's not commit to 4 sets a year, right? We're going to release it. We're going to print enough of it. If we haven't printed enough to demand to satisfy the market. And I think James White tried something like that. I remember some verbiage on his website. So y'all have to like point me out where I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was his intent, right? And that's the idea that I get from James White for Flesh and Blood. Is that he wants to print things to satiate the demand, right? Now, he didn't say specifically to whom, the collector scalpers, and I just hope so much that they print this thing to where it gets to that MSRP level, and now you got a bunch of scalpers that are like,
holding bags.
What do I do with all these 50 boxes, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I would
crap.
love for people to have
That would be so
Rudy
wonderful.
bathroom Pokemon thing, except for it to be Lorcana. I think it would be really good for people as far as the player base for there to be an excess of this product. I don't think it would be bad for the market because I think that it would certainly flood through as people get into the game, assuming that people actually want to play. And I don't think it's just collectors at this point. I do honestly believe that people want to jam games. That's why Pixelborn's doing over 100,000 games per month. No, it's 100,000 games per week. Pardon.
Yeah, so that's what I say. I think you're a bit low. Here's. I just had a beautiful thought. What I would do, and oh my God, would it shake up the TCG world? They say, okay, we've already got the first 4 sets in the pipe, and so we're going to print those. And then next year, we're just going to take the whole year off from releasing any new sets until we have satiated the demand for the first 4 sets.
Oh shit!
Wouldn't that right? Wouldn't that? How would that change? How would that shake up the world?
I think that they should.
That would be amazing.
Get
they should listen to that. Somebody forward that to Lorcana. Somebody forward that clip. What a great idea!
You know, such an excess of product would be good for them. You know, for it to be an evergreen kind of thing. They should print this first chapter like Modern Horizons 2 was printed. You know,
sure. Well, I mean, I don't know, because Modern Horizons 2, I don't think was printed to keep satiating the demand, right? I think it was underhandedly printed that way. We didn't expect it. We expected it to get, even Rudy, well, they're going to stop printing Modern Horizons 2. And then eventually he goes, when are they going to stop printing Modern Horizons 2? Right. I don't even think, so it wasn't clear. It wasn't there. And, WotC, of course, being as opaque and non-transparent as possible, again, to play effing games with us. I would think that if Ravensburger would come out, I think that would be a brilliant move to say, oh, well, we're going to hit the pause button on any future sets come 2024 when we have our next printer time available. And we're going to reprint, we'll try it just with the next print cycle, and we'll print the first chapter again, a full print wave, until we feel satisfied that we've satiated the demand in the marketplace, right? To just literally print the pause button moving forward with sets to say, no, we're going to fill the demand that currently exists before moving ahead with more new demand. And I think that would even extend the lifespan in total for the game. right? And you'll get rid of the scalpers like that. Talk about a disincentive to scalpers is to say, well, we'll move on to the next set when the demand's been satiated.
Right, and they're just left hanging.
How is that
Yeah.
harmful to the game? I think that's a great idea, and I think they should be listening to the LGSs. Yeah, we still have people coming in to play the first chapter. Go ahead and send us more cases, right? And when they finally see a real pullback in the numbers of that, they go, okay, start printing Rise of the Floodborn. Okay,
I
when
think
they
that
stop giving
having
demand.
more cards in the pool would definitely be helpful to them as far as deck building and progression of the meta. You know, make sure that gameplay is still fresh. But as far as I think Magic would definitely be able to do that, and for it to be hugely received as a positive. I don't think anybody's clamoring for more stuff as far as Magic the Gathering products. I think if they took a year off, that it would be absolutely phenomenal for the next set that does come out for them. I think
Well,
it's kind of the opposite personally to me for Lorcana is
I don't necessarily agree. Like we don't even know they're going to quadruple the size of the card pool, right? And let people play with that. I think that once every 6 months is actually not a bad model, right?
hmm,
I think one set release every 6 months is actually a pretty good pace, right? We've been playing with these same Lorcana cards for over 6 months now.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not bored with it yet. It'd be nice to have some new ones, and we're getting some, right? But
Mm,
again, it's to try to get rid of the toxic element, right?
mm.
Being slightly stale is less harmful than the toxicity of the current opportunistic scalper market. I think it's really bad for Lorcana. It really is bad for Lorcana.
Oh, absolutely. Well, hey guys, make sure you let us know your comments down below. What you think a healthy release schedule is, what you want to get out of a trading card game, and where you think different TCGs are at. As I said, I got a pretty rocking toothache here, so I think we're going to cut this one pretty short tonight.
Round of
Thank you,
applause for
everybody.
Pat for showing up.
Yeah,
Serious.
I try to be here as much as I can, and they do what I can. You guys make it worthwhile, and I always love having these conversations with Bob and Matt and all you out there in the comment section. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and until next week.
Before we close up, I think isn't this the first Saturday of the month for Dual Brain? Is this his show this weekend? If so,
Could
if
be.
he's live, go over and check him out. Rate him from the Odyssey channel here, and show him some love. Ed's a good guy. I always
Heck
like watching
yeah.
his content, and all of you are wonderful too. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and like Pat said, appreciate you all showing up tonight. Keep tuning in, keep checking out our videos, keep hitting those likes, subscribes, shares, and recommend us if you believe we're worthy of being recommended to other folks out there.
Yeah, y'all take care. Peace.